I wanted to talk about white women who act ghetto. Now, a lot of people think acting ghetto is just a black thing, when there's some white people that act just as ghetto as the most ghetto black person. There's actually more white women who get welfare. There's actually more white women who live on Section 8. So acting ghetto is not just a black thing. It's a lower class mentality that a lot of people have in all different races. Now, being raised in the ghetto doesn't make you ghetto. Acting ghetto is a choice. Because I was raised in the ghetto, but I never followed the ghetto mentality. I never had a criminal record. I never had a bunch of baby mamas with a bunch of different women. I never bragged about doing stupid shit like a lot of people who are raised in the ghetto do. I always valued education. I always wanted to do for myself. That's not the mentality that most people who are raised in the ghetto follow. What I notice about a lot of ghetto women, they all follow that same mentality. It doesn't matter whether it's a white ghetto woman or a black ghetto woman or a Latino ghetto woman. They all follow the mentality that they don't have to be responsible for anything they do. When I come across white ghetto women, they usually have a bunch of baby daddies with a bunch of different men. They usually only date thugs, they usually only date jailbirds, and they usually follow the same mentality as a lot of ghetto black women. But one of the things I notice is they're given a pass. People don't demonize ghetto white women the way they demonize ghetto black women. When a black woman acts ghetto, she's called a hood rat and she's condemned by the community. They look at her as being trash. But for some reason, when a white woman acts ghetto, she's given a pass. Her behavior is given a pass. Nobody looks at her as being a hood rat. Nobody looks at her as being a jump off. And why is her behavior given a pass while the black woman who acts ghetto is put down and called a hood rat? Because a lot of people assume just because she's white, she must be this high moral person. She must be this higher class person. When there's just as many ghetto white women as there is ghetto black women. There's just as many white women having a bunch of kids with a bunch of different men. There's just as many white women milking the system. Just as many white women milking the welfare system, milking the Section 8 system, and putting their kids in a dysfunctional environment. So this is not just a black thing. This is not just something that black women are doing. There's just as many white women who are doing this. I just think we should call out this dysfunction across the board and stop just pointing the finger at black women as being the only dysfunctional women in America. The single mother epidemic that's going on in America right now, it needs to be solved across the board, regardless of race. And I think feminism and these feminist government programs are what's creating this behavior. These feminist government programs, like Section 8 and welfare, have told so many women that they don't need to have kids in marriage. They don't have to be responsible for their behavior. They don't have to bring a child in a stable environment. And this is why so many women are having kids and not caring who the father is. They don't give a damn who the baby's father is, just as long as they can collect child support and collect welfare and get this free Section 8. These government programs are what's creating this dysfunctional behavior. I see this with ghetto white women. I see this with ghetto black women. I see this with ghetto Latino women. And I'm not saying every woman who gets welfare in Section 8 acts ghetto. There's some women who get Section 8 who use it for the right reasons. There's some women who use it for the reason it's supposed to be used for. Temporary help to get you on your feet until you get a job, until you get a steady income so you can live on your own. What I'm against are these women who get on Section 8 and welfare and they stay on it for 10 and 20 years. This is why programs like Section 8 and welfare need to be reformed. It needs to be reformed so somebody who gets on it is only on it for a few years and then you get off of it. If you haven't got yourself together within 2 years, then you should be cut off. You should be cut off for Section 8. You should be cut off for welfare. You got a lot of these women that will get on Section 8 and they will stay on it for 10 and 20 years. Just laying on her ass, having baby after baby after baby. And this is what creates this dysfunctional behavior. So acting ghetto is not just a black thing. It's also a white thing, and it's also a Latino thing. Ghetto white women are just as bad as ghetto black women. The only women I respect that get Section 8 are women that use it for the right reasons. There's some women that get Section 8 and they may be going to college, they may be working, they may be trying to get themselves on their feet. They're using it to get themselves on their feet and move out and get their own place. And these are the people who are using it for the right reasons. They're using the assistance for the right reasons. The problem is the majority of women on Section 8 are not using it for the right reasons. They're using it for the wrong reasons. They're using it to just freeload and not have to work and not have to do for themselves. And it's created this dysfunctional behavior that they don't have to be responsible for anything they do. It goes to show that the majority of women on Section 8, the majority of women on welfare are white women. And a lot of these white women get a pass because a lot of people assume that all white people live in the suburbs, that all white people are these higher class, high moral people, when that's not true at all. There's actually more white people on welfare than there is black people. There's more white people living on Section 8 than there is black people. So a lot of people need to stop assuming that living in the projects, acting dysfunctional, is just a black thing, when it's not just a black thing. There's just as many ghetto white women as there is ghetto black women. There's just as many ghetto white men as there is ghetto black men. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic. Leave a comment, rate, and subscribe.